Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Afezzikri Danish bin Ahmad Shukran. We'll be presenting about Salient Shariah issue in Ijarah agreement of CIMB Islamic Bank. Next is the property Ijarah facility agreement of CIMB Islamic Bank. So basically, the Ijarah agreement in CIMB Islamic Bank is using Ijarah Muntahiyah Bimatlib or IMB, which refer to the lease agreement that ends with the transfer of ownership to the customer at the end of the lease period. Under Shariah principle, the bank, which is the lessor, must own the asset and bear the ownership-related risk throughout the leasing period. Although Ijarah is widely accepted in Islamic finance, certain issues may raise Shariah concerns. Therefore, this presentation focuses on two main issues, which is potential transfer of ownership-related maintenance obligation through a wakalah agreement and ownership risk. There are two main issues. For the first one is the potential transfer of ownership-related maintenance obligation through a wakalah agreement. In Ijarah contract, the bank, which is the owner of the property, must bear the ownership liability such as the structural maintenance, external hazard, which is also known as the major obligation, while the customer only bears the usufruct-related responsibility, which is the minor obligation, also known as daman al-manfa'ah, which include the utility expenses, ordinary wear and tear, and damages caused by negligence of the customer. Although appointing the customer as a maintenance agent is permissible under the Shariah, but problem may arise when the ownership responsibility are effectively shifted to the customer. This may weaken the genuine ownership element that distinguish between the Ijarah concept and the conventional financing. Now, the second issue is the ownership risk, which also known as daman al-milkiyah. In the Islamic finance, profit is only justified when accompanied with risk. Therefore, the bank must bear the ownership-related risk in return for the rental income received from the customer. Although CIMB Islamic Bank remains the legal owner of the property, but many of the operational expenses and risks is borne by the customer. This raises concern about whether the bank is genuinely bearing the ownership risk or merely holding the legal title on the paper. If the ownership exists only on the documentation, Shariah integrity of rental income may be questioned. Moving on is the recommendation of solving this issue. For the first issue, the recommendation is to distinguish between major and minor maintenance. So, for the major maintenance, the responsibility should be held by the bank. For example, like roof replacement, structural defects, and major structural repairs. For the minor maintenance, the responsibility should be held by the customer, such as the routine cleaning, utility, expenses, and minor cosmetic repairs. And for the agency through the wakalah agreement, the responsibility should also be managed by the bank. For the example, bank must oversee the agent and reimburse any major repairs costs to the agent. So for the second issue, the recommendation is to the strengthening bank involvement in asset management. The bank should remain active in involvement of the asset. This includes approving major repair, monitoring property condition. This measure ensure the ownership risk remain with the bank as required by the Shariah principle. So, the bank should also has a periodic monitoring to check the property and ensure genuine ownership responsibility are being maintained by the bank. The Shariah audits. Shariah audits must also verify the ownership risk is borne by the bank and not shifted entirely to the customer. The last one is, as I have just mentioned just now, is asset management. The bank should strengthening the involvement in improving repairs, monitoring the physical condition of the property. So, in conclusion, CIMB Islamic Bank Ijarah Agreement follow Sharia law, but certain application may require constant monitoring. This is important because the agreement must prioritize fairness and transparency, distinguish the Ijarah agreement between Ijarah agreement and the conventional methods. And lastly, this is to enhance Sharia compliance oversight. That's all from me. Thank you.